Koga Rinzuna, the becoming of a being, also known as the ultimate becoming. I've decided to express the deeper side this time. What I've expressed in the past has been decent to exceptional. However, this is a far different curve of focus in subject content. To those who have spent most of their lives striving in sports, such efforts is exploiting the self and saying sports are more important than life. The focus of such practices is an example of how little interest there is in life, the cheap get-out-of-life ticket. Third-person perspective has become an empty reflection value. It is a narcissistic way of devaluing and luring the mind into ways of thinking and judging that are both unjust and idealistic. I no longer have any interest in third-person perspectives. They don't include the universe, nor the value of living within a universe. The universe is greater than an idea, thought, and being. It is both a home to sentient, evolving beings and a sanctuary to life lovers. This is what it's about. Those whom love life and love love, and, the other side, live life to struggle with temporary love. To love life, to love love, or to be neutral in choices, to be neutral in understandings, or to choose choices based in unnatural circumstances. These are the three primary decisions that can be made here, the difference being awareness, discernment, potentialities, and realisticness. However, many aren't aware that they are living. However, I doubt they will say they are not living if asked, are you living? Meaning, knowing you are alive, to whom this pertains to, then you should try and be alive, and not many have realized how amazing life is. To the point of wanting nothing to do with those who want to limit their lives, many feel obligated to run with the system, the perimeters, that which is around them. This is part of the illusion all around. However, it's true that the obviousness around is that obvious. There are persons who apply for factories that make cheap little toys that can be bought through quarter machines. The difference being the government removed and eternal living standards. What has this person done to themselves to just make money over cheap toys made in foreign countries, made by probably children in factories, to be sold in quarter machines that have literally zero benefit to those whom buy this plastic toy? The same with Skittles factory, in other words, M&Ms, etc. There are going to be awkward and weird realizations and ironies. Persons are going to realize that they didn't have to partake in. Most just take whatever they can get, not caring or what reason they are working for. It's selfless and selfish to make money. Even to be a person who evicts persons from their home, it's the same, to make money. There's a sellout factor in the human race. However, when knowing they will have to accept very obscure and bizarre realizations, they had set themselves up based on empty values. The primary reason to have worked is to support the family. However, any other reason is going to be another weird realization experience. Anyone who valued their job, liked their job, felt respect because of their job, whatever was felt because of that job, realized the formula is the same. A very weird setup and bizarre realization process will occur. Hating a job makes sense than just doing the job and being numb to how much it's comatizing the person within. Considerations of what is value of a person in unnatural circumstances unnecessarily jeopardizes the realizations to occur with that person. It's not logical nor realistic to any degrees to value what is in unnatural circumstances when they are built on limiting and furthering harm to persons. The main question is, if you know you are alive, what around you is of a life standard, other living beings, animals of course, to what tech, and only the tech that helps you communicate with others. The next question then being, to what value is the concern of questions here or the questions without the here around you. This is merely thinking. This isn't exercising mathematics or historical philosophies to grasp, or reach such a door. To be alive and say you are alive is to say you are for real and serious about your evolution in life. That being said, is being serious in unnatural circumstances safe? The same with caring even, laughing even. The obvious being no. To what degrees of these three follow in which subject content depends on clarity of mind and self-awareness of direction when in conversations and or expressing information based on such subject content. Meaning, if to be serious would to not take what is around you seriously. If to care, then to care of the life outside of this system and the bigger picture. The bigger picture, always referring to the universe. No other metaphor humanly spoken of in the context of the bigger picture does this mean anything bound by definition of agreement, aka dictionary, to unnatural circumstances around. Therefore, you don't have right, and you are not the origins of the word itself, aka universe, aka bigger picture as well. The third, laughter, which I was thinking some kind of chuckled at that. What is okay to laugh at here? When the system was to desolate and mangle those who aren't aware. The other truth being, laugh is a cheap and distracting high. Its benefits only because the person doesn't make themselves feel good enough, often enough, isn't helping themselves enough in such ways to where a laugh would be interesting, not a health benefit. To what laughing pertains to these days is 96+% obscure and outrageous, trend and fad related. TV and movies says a lot. Get Me to the Greek says a lot, even more if you've seen that movie. Unfortunately, I had to watch that with a friend, didn't say anything, became a learning experience, that's for sure. Laughing has become the other perversion many persons are going to roll to. Laughing is to say, I laugh because the situation is truly unique and exciting in its utmost clarity, aka rap, and discernments, aka smart humor, and or radical irony curves. Doubtful you know what I'm talking about, because your other 3 or 4% of quote comedy is nearly unspoken of. The difference being that health benefits defined in unnatural circumstances are generally going to be due to the same issue over and over. Live more life and love love. Of course, I suggest that living life here logically would make sense to live life elsewhere, aka not here. We'll get back to that in a second. No one on a large scale has attempted in defining themselves, rather than outside distraction to define them. Obvious, yes, but more obscure in such clarity. Many have set themselves up with very weird realizations. Their fascinations and interests are borderline taboo, and most persons treat others as workers and or just people. Many without the value or any acknowledgement that is another living being. Instead, it's the most simplest wrong thing towards the other person, and they freak out. So many are even ready to hurt others. Many persons don't treat those who are working at a job as persons, and customers while working are magical persons that have a right to complain and or specify as they want, nearly, and to nearly any degree. This is common, and though I think it's more of an American fault, other countries do or don't share such examples. The central focus point for most persons is fix this, but then fix me. But also then thank you. But then the weird realizations occur. Humans aren't aware of how baffling their actions have been. If I were capable of doing vast speeches, etc., I would be able to break this down very easily. Near to all would grasp and would be able to act on life and options and not what's around them. The government's ideals would fold far faster, but I have to be realistic. I could be targeted, could be threatened, various possibilities. Thus, I know my place. Here is in a salvage area where I'm living at, a neutral zone, dimension you could say, just as the Bermuda Triangle, just without sinking ships and disappearing airplanes. A near ley line. but there are both unexplainable sightings I see, but even more, 95+% of storms detour away from this house. Though that being, since I had set up a glyph sigil around this house, I don't value beliefs. Beliefs are temporary and dependent rather than independent. I don't value doubts anymore because doubts have ultimately no value to express. Yes, this is scripted. I have made many predictions and precognitions stated on my YouTube videos. They come into pass except for the final, which is what all have been waiting for, the transition. I'm laying this down now because I am tired of so many who aren't trying to realize how great it is to be alive, making this video because too many say they are alive but don't exercise life qualities of living. Most choose, and it's deliberately, temporary choices over and over. The lack of common sense and awareness of limited choice selections is far too abundant. Many have put themselves in unnecessary positions and unaware to it at that. The beginning for humanity is blessed, but not the version they were hoping for. Most were hoping for free passes and all benefits to come. Most aren't even aware of their trill and awkward realizations, my life example being the reasons for why many are going to feel weirded out by themselves. I believe that the core self of the person will be... Okay, let me try. I typed this up quite quickly. What I'm trying to say here is okay. I believe that the core self will be... Okay, I see what it's saying now. I believe the core self will be with us. That person with what they had left for themselves to run on in metaphysical ways of being in a place where they simply belong. Many have acted obscure and lame realms. Most aren't content or happy with most of their lives, this being a daily devaluement. In other words, most are tripping and beating themselves up too willingly into sarcastic ways without enough true esteemed understanding of life value and life abundance potentialities. This is very serious, and none of this can be denied. Those who are denying, well, you are doing it to yourself right now. You're doing it to yourself right now. You're basically saying you know life, and you can even direct it. Life's eternal. It's all eternal. You have an idea. It's not the idea. Life is beautiful. I have died many times. My love for life is better than any physical feeling most pertain to sex. Life is mesmerizing, and I will express a very simple but effective test. This is my first test on YouTube for you. Life is beautiful. You would say sex is the greatest physical feeling, but you have to be alive to even have that experience. What does this mean? Now, that was a test. In other words, a question. See where this is going? This is why, for most, quote, living, think a free-to-go pass is going to be given to them. That they are going to magically receive everything amazing, magically. No, it's not that way. Nor was the factor ever presented in such documentations as the Golden Age of Enlightenment and the many other terms that exist. The transition itself we're talking about. The factor of realizations was shady. There was talk of many are going to realize how small everything is around them, the same with the world around them, and how many they, have lacked within it. In other words, you're going to realize just how devalued everything is. The difference, however, is that there is a passiveness within the light worker version of the transition, that most will have a choice to live in peace or not, when the choice isn't theirs to make, but their core self, their origin self, their actual self. This is why I think core self, aka metaphysical self, and the self here, that which is strangely all well too accustomed to a temporary way of being and life. Everyone is a bit too comfortable with working on a job. Everyone's a bit too comfortable with getting up first thing in the morning, getting their coffee ready, thinking of whatever they have to do to, do that day. People are just they're just too bizarrely okay with it. People in general here are just weird. And it's